Hey guys, what's up? It's another episode of Channel Shadow Moses, and today's episode we are going to talk about the Buu saga and just answer one question. Does the Buu saga suck? Now recently I took a poll amongst my friends asking them what they thought the weakest saga was. And the consensus was pretty clear amongst them, and that was the Buu saga. Which is weird. The Buu saga has really great moments. They may not be as iconic as Goku versus Vegeta for the first time, but you get Super Saiyan 3, you get great forms of Kid Buu, you get the fusion, Vegeta's sacrifice, but yet it still comes up short for some reason. Now, throughout this video, I'm going to be giving some what I would call pretty objective reasons of why I think people don't actually enjoy the Buu saga nearly as much. And of course, I'll put on my own personal take of how I feel about some of those reasons as well. But guys, there's going to be a couple of disclaimers before we get into this. The first one is the biggest one, and I will understand if not everyone or if no one agrees with me on this. But that is deciding where the Buu arc starts. Now, if you were like me in the 90s and grew up with Funimation dictating when each arc started and what each arc was called, you'll remember having not only the Frieza saga, but the Ginyu saga, and not only the Cell saga, but the Trunks saga, and the Android saga, and the Imperfect Cell saga, and the Perfect Cell saga, and the Cell Game saga. So it got a little convoluted back then, and thanks to the internet being what it is now, we can kind of rectify some of that. However, for me, I've always considered the Buu saga starting pretty much when the Supreme Kai tells their friends not to move when Spopovich and Yami attacks Gohan. I mean, technically it's the Babidi saga too, but technically it's also just one big Majin Buu fusion saga, so you kind of see what I mean. It gets a little bit weird. So for the sake of this video, I will say that the Buu saga is going to start right when Yami and Spopovich attacks Gohan. And for anyone that wants to include the beginning part of that where Gohan and the Great Saiyaman and the World Tournament saga happens, then yes, the Buu saga has a pacing problem in the beginning if you include all of that. The only interesting thing that happened there was Gohan teaching Goten how to fly, Spopovich beating the crap out of Videl, and Trunks and Goten's fight. There was no in between in my opinion. But I digress. The beginning of this arc starts with the Supreme Kai warning the Z Fighters not to attack Spopovich and Yami, who are about to attack Gohan, and to give them a pretty good reason why. Fast forwarding a little bit, they track down Spopovich and Yami where they went with Gohan's energy to Babidi's lair. And this, I would say, is about the first act right here. Inside Babidi's ship, a lot of people would probably say that this part didn't really serve a purpose. Nothing really happened here, but I disagree. What this act really does is showcase how much our heroes have grown in the past 7 years. Because remember, at this point, we don't know anything. We don't know about Super Saiyan 3, we barely know about Super Saiyan 2. It does a good job of introducing the bad guy's plan to release Majin Buu. And it also gives us sort of a red herring. It gives ourselves and our heroes a false sense of security that because they've wiped the floor with all of Babidi's henchmen, that there's no way Majin Buu could be a threat. Goku feels it and Vegeta feels it. Hell, even Supreme Kai starts to get a little happy there. And then what happens? Vegeta betrays the team. Vegeta succumbs to his inner darkness, his inner nostalgia, and lets Babidi take over his mind. And for what? All to have a fight with Goku. While arguably one of the most entertaining scenes to watch in the entire series, this ultimately does not go anywhere. While you think Vegeta and Goku are evenly matched, you find out later that Goku had a secret weapon all along, almost rendering this fight mute, but it does serve one small purpose, and that's another misdirect. It gives you the false impression that Goku and Vegeta are just as strong, so when Vegeta fights and ultimately loses to Buu, you don't know what to do. There is no solution. And so far, I don't think there's a single thing wrong with the Buu arc. It does what it's supposed to do. It captivates you, gives you information, shows the bad guy, reveals how dominating the bad guy is, and it shows just how outclassed everyone else will be. When Vegeta sacrifices himself with the attempt to kill Majin Buu, you see the first glimpse of real character development. Not in the series, even though Dragon Ball Z doesn't have very much, but it's one of the biggest in the show, I would say, and definitely the biggest of this arc. And here we have the second big reason that a lot of people have problems with the Buu Arc, and that's Vegeta's sacrifice. And I don't agree with this at all, because of one thing. We know what show we're watching. It's Dragon Ball Z. People say that Vegeta's death was mute, or the sacrifice didn't mean much because Buu came back, or because Vegeta came back, or whatever reason you want to say. Guys, no death in Dragon Ball Z matters at all. It never has. When in Dragon Ball, when someone died, they said you can only die once and then get wished back. Then when, our MVP guys of death kept dying, they said, okay, well, there's more Dragon Balls on this other planet. And then, in the Buu Arc, where too many people kept dying, they said, okay, let's just change the way the Dragon Balls work so you can wish everyone back. And then in Super, they're like, well, let's just start restoring all galaxies. I mean, death doesn't matter in Dragon Ball, so we know what we're watching. So when I hear someone's character arc was diminished due to a noble sacrifice having a mute end, that was always going to happen. However, I will say, this is where the Buu arc starts to decline in its second arc. Somewhat. Not too bad, but you'll see what I mean. When we fast forward, Babidi is still alive, he's controlling Buu. You find out Gohan's alive, Vegeta actually did die, and Goku's gonna leave in a few hours and has to teach the fusion dance to Piccolo, Goten, and Trunks. And the best thing I can say about this section of the arc is that I'm glad it starts to focus on other characters, with other characters mostly being Goten and Trunks, and Piccolo reprising his role as the mentor again. And then there's adult Gohan, and this is a different character from the kid that we knew before. And in my opinion, this would have been the ideal spot to show us what makes this Gohan either different or better from the Gohan that we knew before. But that doesn't really happen. Gohan just kind of reacts to everything happening around him. And while he's always reacted, there's been growth during those reactions. We've learned something new about him. I feel like the story was supposed to be written around Gohan, but the story just sort of changed at some point, and nothing really came of his efforts. And this just became a training arc. And this training arc, manga Kai or Z, lasted way too long. The only thing this arc really served to do is show the correlation between Majin Buu and Hercule, which is crazy that I have to say has way more character development than 80% of the Z fighters. But it's still good stuff. And then the fusion comes into play. And fusion is a very, I would say, interesting concept. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm sort of in the middle. It gives characters that would normally never shine an opportunity to do so. As the audience, we all know that if Vegeta, Goku, and Gohan can't beat Buu, there's no way that Trunks and Goten can. But the fact that the fusion allows them to have a fighting chance is what makes it interesting. Some of our favorite characters that had no hope of ever being relevant again has the opportunity and the potential to be relevant. But here is where the Buu saga becomes really, I would say, subjective. For 3 battles out of the main 4, nothing of any significance happens. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks fights Super Buu, but nothing really happens. Gohan fights Super Buu, but nothing really happens. And then Vegeta fights Super Gohan Buu, but again, nothing really happens. Slightly before and during all 3 of those big fights, the only thing that's really happened is that Super Buu destroyed all life on Earth. And while in any other show that would be an amazing deal, but again, Dragon Balls, we all know what's going to happen. It doesn't subvert expectations. It doesn't give us a twist. It's predictable at this point. It almost inadvertently becomes a tournament arc where Buu is just taking on the next challenger with no real story happening in between for a very long time. And then there's a little controversy with the earrings and the dance and why Goku and Vegeta aren't fused anymore, which was conveniently solved in Super, even though it was really just Toriyama not remembering what he wrote. But to be honest, one of the things I really would have liked to see more of was some sort of consequence or the inner turmoils of Buu and his evil side. Buu's evil side came out of nowhere, beat him, and absorbed him in like half an episode. It was cool, but a little jarring with how quickly all those things turned. It's like he had a bunch of different ideas. Toriyama had a bunch of different ideas in his head and just wanted to throw them all on paper to get to the end. But since we're almost there, I'll just go on and talk a little bit about the Kid Buu arc as well, because, I mean, that's the end of the show, pretty much. And I won't lie, I loved every moment of the Kid Buu arc. Maybe that's my inner fanboy coming out, but to be fair, the Kid Buu arc didn't really have to do much. I like the background story of the Kid Buu arc, about how Bibbidi had to control Kid Buu and why he's this way, fighting all the Kais, absorbing the Grand Kai, and all that stuff happening. I actually thought that was very interesting. It's actually the most backstory, story we've really gotten from the Kid Buu arc. I just kind of wish they did something more with it earlier on. But Goku and Vegeta fighting Kid Buu, taking turns, devising that really nice plan, using the Dragon Balls in a very smart and strategic way to use the Spirit Bomb. I loved all of that, and I was just really wishing the Majin Buu arc could have had a lot of that muster. And of course, I've said this before in another video, Vegeta's respect is my favorite moment in Dragon Ball Z, and it happens in the Kid Buu arc. All of his character development comes full circle, realizing how much better Goku is than him and him humbling himself to that idea. So listen, if we're talking about does the Buu arc suck? No, I don't think so at all. Contrary to some of the things I may have said, I really enjoyed the Buu arc. And one of the best ways I can describe the Buu arc is fun. And while it doesn't have the narrative strength the other arcs have, it has this strong, fun, whimsical air about it that I just can't bring myself to actually hate this arc. And with that being said, I will leave you guys with this. Out of the 4 big arcs in Dragon Ball Z, the Buu saga as a whole is not my least favorite. I will leave you guys to figure it out which one you guys think my least favorite is, but it's not the Buu saga. And I understand that 99% of you guys won't agree with me, which is fine. And that's fine. It's a soft spot I've always had for the Buu arc. And in making this video, I've really become more aware of some of the negative narrative decisions that Toriyama had for this arc, and some of the pacing issues that arose, and just a lot of random ideas thrown out just for the sake of having them in the show. But I still like the Buu arc, and it's not because I'm blind to these issues, I just like it despite of the issues. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think what I'm saying is fair? And what rank would you guys give the Majin Buu arc amongst the big 3? Let me know in the comments below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.